Hello everyone, welcome to a new market update. Today I'm going to take a quick look at BTC current situation as always, but I will focus on Total 3 and others, which is one of the main charts for many of you. And of course our enemy, BTC dominance. But let me start with some, let's say, psychological analysis or reflection. Because even though you might think this is not important because just give me targets and dates, that's all many people want. And by the way, if you are one of those people who think like that, let me tell you that either you change that approach or you will really, really round trip it all, right? I'm not trying to sound harsh, but you know that sometimes things need to be clearly said, right? I could just tell you what you want to hear. I could just throw random predictions, um, dates like in 2 months or whatever, and you just keep following me, and I keep feeding you hope, and I could be selling you some kind of newsletter, paid group, whatever, just getting advantage of all the excitement, the anticipation, even though it's just not even paper gains. It's just the hope and the everything is going to be okay kind of thoughts, right? I'm not here to reinforce that. I'm here to just show the technicals and why I believe what I believe, right? And explain everything I see and how I see it. So again, you will have paper games at some point, more or less. You will have them. If you've been here from before, that moment will come because the market will probably rise. So you will have some money. The thing is, will you act on your emotions because you start believing and reading so many takes that will pop up here on Twitter? Because I also pointed out that when everything goes up, even shitty TA, just squiggly lines can work because everything is in up mode, right? So you might think, as I did back in 2021, that those guys really know because they have thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers, and they are posting TA and I have no idea, so they must know. But remember, I'm going to use my example with Veracity back in 2021, right? By October, I had already been a few months in the market, still learning, but I wasn't really doing that bad now in hindsight. The thing is, even though technicals tell me that this was, as I said, that this obvious daily divergence forming Veracity almost near at the top, because this was like late October 25th. We know the cycle ended like early November. Pretty much like a week before the top, I posted this, right? There is divergence with a very big downtrend. This was Q1. This was the first summer drop, and this was the September drop, the second correction. And then I posted this. I said that obviously BTC had a huge impact on 3 price actions because it also dumped, which was what it did later on. So we'll see how it develops. What did I do? I didn't follow the technicals. I didn't follow by them developing strategy. Why? Because I wanted more. Because in my mind, I had joined recently, back in April, I didn't know anything. So it just was like 6 months in, and I wanted to make more. What did I do? I started believing those who were talking about super cycle, 100k. In my head, it was being logical because they knew way more than I did. But in reality, all I was doing was looking for people who told me what I wanted to hear. Right? That's all I did, and that's what many people will do here. Now I can do a shitty chart, print a huge arrow here, and say that we are going to the moon for whatever micro cap you see, and perhaps it's your coin, and you believe it's going to be that high because I don't know, a guy with 300,000 followers said that, so he must know. Be careful with that, right? Technicals are important at inflection points mostly. The bottom, as we saw, as I posted here, 82k already reversing, and I say that I stick to what I see. Perhaps you think that's biased, whatever. But I mentioned a few videos ago that the change in these daily RSI reinforce. I say many times that the longer the RSI, the divergence takes, the bigger the impact. right? And I thought this was the bottom, structurally speaking, and I think it wasn't bad. Even the 2024 fractal ended up being slow because we are mid-May and we are already at all-time high. This even the 2024 fractal would have just made us wait until June. So no one, not even me, because it would be just a random prediction, would thought that would think that we were gonna cross the all-time highs so early. That's why I don't focus on that. I focus on what might come next on a high time frame, right? So if we see a reversal, we might have a new weekly trend starting here in the daily. If we have a weekly trend, we have about, I don't know, 2-3 months of up price action, of course, choppy in between. And that's all I care about, right? So let's take a quick look at BTC. I posted here that BTC, this is the 4-hour chart, something we have also been following to try and, not because I act on this, but to try and anticipate daily moves, and then those daily moves anticipate weekly moves, right? So this 4-hour chart, I said that we might be entering another cool-off period. This whole leg for BTC, as you know, has been particular in the sense that all the corrections have been sideways. All the cool-offs. We haven't had meaningful pullbacks, which in my opinion might make the as I said a few times, the pullback when it comes a sharper one. Bear that in mind. That's just a possibility, right? We don't know, because when we enter up only mode, like God mode, BTC pushes strong without hesitation. So again, that's why I go to the weekly to act, not the daily, because I could be easily left behind. I said a few times, imagine exiting here waiting for this crowded trade, the 92K. You're left behind. What about trying to be really, really like ahead of everyone else? That's something I've seen from people who are very good investors and traders. They have become victim of themselves. They have gotten all the attention because they made some good calls, some good analysis, and now they are not aware that they are trying to give something no one else is giving, saying something no one else is saying, just because they want to be under the spotlight again. So they are forcing interpretations and trades. Be careful with that, because I saw people saying, okay, this is some kind of inefficient candle, right? And this will surely go back and get filled, right? Be careful. We haven't seen any. Are you trying to give alpha just for the sake of it, just to make people believe that you know what no one else does? Or are you really focused on technicals? Because all I said here, and I said it's a possibility we roll over, but I said I don't see anything that aligns with that kind of pullback. We were cooling off, holding 102.5 with several weeks that show that. RSI was still holding. I said we could fake below because we did it before. So yes, the first time we do it, if we do it, I will think, okay, is this the same kind of price action as here? It doesn't mean it has to completely roll over. That's why I said be careful with oscillators, not just black and white. And my final, let's say, conviction point to believe that this was not the time for a pullback is the macro. Stocks have had a big impact, of course, this whole cycle, on macro, tariffs, inflation, unemployment, whatever. And by here, we didn't have any more official data to be released. And I said, there are not kind of headwinds. Headwinds just, pressure from economical situation. Tailwinds is when you have all the favorable conditions. Right? I know most of you know those terms, but in case you don't, that's something that many people use frequently. So it was all good. So I said, for now, it's just a sideways correction. And so it was, right? Even with this scam candle, I said, look at the place where it bounced, 102.5 again. And then off we went. For now, daily divergence is still not forming, validated, as I said, if we cross 110K, and that was the point. And now I want to see all-time high holding. It's kind of a psychological level, but also technical, in the sense that we are not faking above all-time high. This is the kind of moment you might ask, how do I know if it's a fake out or not? I mean, obviously we never know for sure, but no weakness on the daily, right? I mean, we are not getting here after building a huge bearish divergence for a month like we did here at the top. We are not having weak kind of candles. This is very, very, very strong candles. And if I switch to the weekly, I say that nothing's wrong at all. Sorry, zooming here a little bit. Nothing's wrong. We are around here. I posted a few days ago. We are here testing new all-time high. I think it was on Monday. RSI, we haven't even crossed the 70 mark. But I said a few times, it's the acceleration mode. Off we go. Yes, it doesn't mean instantly we are overheated and be careful. It's tricky because it's the same area as everything pops hard, and the area where you have to be careful depending on the level we reach. Here it was 78, here it was 88, the difference is big. So we pay attention to the daily. If we start seeing daily divergence building for some time, it doesn't really matter if it's 78, 80 something, right? We will pay attention to that. But please look at this and tell me we need to be worried. Be careful as well as with the stock RSI, which I said again, sometimes entering the overheated area doesn't mean it has to reverse completely instantly. It depends on how we enter. That's why I think it's a secondary indicator. Here you can see that RSI was climbing, really overheated, right? Even before stock RSI would get into the peak, but the moment it got here, it started rolling over. But look at this, RSI had been overheated about 70 since late January to like late March, like 2 months. We had this huge pump from 40K to the previous all-time high, like 74. But RSI is the main indicator, and the stock RSI is the secondary one, right? So plenty of room still to go. I expect at least 78 to be tagged. Let's see, right? I don't want to see any early bearish divergence here in the weekly. We might have the daily while the daily bearish divergence while the weekly is still around 70 something. Perhaps we can think about a divergence. Be careful with divergences, in my opinion, because one of the trickiest parts is how far you go to measure them. That's tricky. For now, I would just let it all run until I see clarity. All good. Let's switch to what you've been... before ending this, I wanted to add my potential targets for BTC. I posted here back in April with BTC around 84. This was just some kind of speculation, right? The way that BTC I have a exclusive Fibonacci video to apply to altcoins, and I apply that to BTC as well. So if you want to look for it and check it out, I think it's very interesting, especially for coins who enter in price discovery and you have no reference for future potential targets. You can add Fibonacci and start speculating or paying attention to. So the first target, considering the way it had developed, right? It runs to the previous, the correction goes to the previous Fibonacci, right? Which, by the way, again, with a 50 confluence, we break, and we so far have been rejected by the next Fibonacci and corrected pretty much to the 50 of the week to the previous Fibonacci, which was the top here. So if we follow that, we would go to the next Fibonacci extension around 135K. Perhaps if we do the same, we correct to current all-time high. If we do this, I think this would be just a regular weekly cycle, not the cycle top, not the final phase. Perhaps we correct in summer and then we run in Q4 again. BTC dominance by then, as I posted in a very detailed post, all that it could do just perhaps retrace to 60%, something like that, to the 200-day moving average without breaking it. It's just like a little push for altcoins. Or we just run to the blow of top kind of target, which is the golden ratio, the golden pocket, however you want to call it. I think it's the most important Fibonacci level, 1.68 or 0.6, right? Okay, so that would be like kind of a blow of top if we run straight. Or we can correct like this, and also perhaps later in Q4 have fuel reset weekly again to run. The thing is, if I go to the monthly BTC, we said this was the final boss. Look at this. Stock RSI oversold us here in the breakout in 2023, pretty much. We have a strong monthly cross, all-time high. What else? Seriously, what else do we need? And now that I showed this chart, I posted yesterday that if you see this chart, what do you think? This is a psychological test. And this is total one, so I don't know what happens next. That's why I wanted to choose this chart, because I didn't want to pick a chart that I knew what happened next, because that would really, really affect my analysis. But if I apply, or we apply our what I've been following, this is a bearish cross, this is a clear downtrend, and the stock RSI got overheated in this leg without price doing much. To me, that's weakness. Why? Because yes, the whole move is pretty much completed, but price hasn't been able to do much despite this whole new leg. What chart is that? It's total one inverted. Very similar to BTC. So all this cool off of BTC from January to April, and all it did was go back to 74. That shows strength. Same way this shows weakness, in my opinion. Right? So people are confused, because those that didn't really pay attention that it was an inverted chart, they wanted to be bullish, reversal coming. Technically speaking, what is about this reversal? I think it's very tricky to go as far back as here to talk about divergences, because we are talking about years. This is a monthly chart. I think it is very risky. Much money made and lost in between. But this is a very good take in my opinion, because I agree. I mean, if we all think the market is bullish, we agree, right? He wants to be, say, bearish because the RSI has lost the MA, and stock RSI has crossed and coming back down, unless it's inverted, which is inverted. So we see this, we are mega bullish. If we are mega bullish here, you should have been mega bearish here. Think about that. What did you think when I posted it? What would you think if I posted it? Perhaps you think just bullish and just a reversal is your emotions wanting to be completely bullish all the time. This could be a test for when the time to sell come, right? Be really careful. Start applying your strategy, because it will be really tough in real time, right? So enough from BTC. Let's take a look at Total 3 and what did I post? That 950 was coming. And I wake up today and I see that we almost tagged it overnight here in Europe. And this was my last chart. I haven't really edited it. And as we already have the cross on the daily. And we already had the cross here, stock RSI. Jesus Christ, how can people be bearish? Look at this perfect price action. I said that we could just, all this, make another push, perhaps a retest here, or simply from run. And look at this week. Almost perfect last push into support to confirm it, making a double bottom here. It's here, man. It's in the charts. So I'm not trying to push any kind of bullish narrative just for the sake of it. This is the daily. And I said BTC dominance was getting overheated. I want to show you that. And perhaps it coincides with BTC needing to cool off and altcoins to catch up. Oscillators tell me that's a possibility. So this structure is perfect, man. I mean, this is a trader's dream. You buy the breakout, you sell the resistance, you buy again the support, and you position yourself here again with all this profit to compound it, waiting for the next breakout. This is insane. And if we go to the weekly, we are still above the MA. Perfectly. All good. All good. I mean, let me just remove this. Look at these candles. Again, I said this is not the kind of candles quick price action at all. If we go to others, this is the let me take the first, like, the general look, which is something I posted yesterday, comparing to previous cycle. I mean, you have the post. I'm gonna remove this just to show it better. You have the post somewhere on Twitter, my profile, but this is the comparison with the previous cycle. Clear. This is the more or less the top, right? I measure it from the. I mean, I measured this from this bottom, right, and it was the previous top. We have this bear market bottom, initial rejection here. So again, this is a accumulation range, the cycle bottom range. When we break that in the first part of the cycle, we enter the previous all-time high kind of range between the top of the bottom and the next all-time high. In this case, we just broke through pretty much. We have just a few weeks on these candles. Comparing to current situation, back then we were 70% away, and now we're 74% away. Remember, this is what we all want. Now we take a look at the current cycle, and we see the 2021 top, this rejection here, right, which, by the way, was pretty much support here and acted as support in 2023. So we have the bottom range again, like here, the cycle bottom. This was the divergence, telling that the reversal was coming. And now we enter the upper range, which was, again, the top was the previous all-time high. What do? We hold this resistance as support, so we leave this previous bottom range, we leave it behind. We failed to break it the first time, we didn't even touch it. But we also front run this bottom, so we are stuck in this new range. What do we think that could happen next? At least test all-time high again. BTC dominance might be telling us that it's time. Remember when I posted here what BTC dominance was doing? Look at this. It started to roll over, right, when the bottom range was pretty much over. And this initial push brought others here to like this kind of mid-range. And interestingly enough, kept pretty much pushing, even though BTC dominance also pushed, right? So climbing out with some kind of hesitation. And I said today that we are pushing together with BTC dominance as well. And once it completely rolled over, we obliterated the previous all-time high here, right? Obliterated it in this drop, and we went straight to all-time high first. This was the second all-time high. So what are we doing now? BTC dominance perhaps is just making a lower high. We'll see if this is just a fake out and then it pushes again. I'm not really sure about that. Perhaps it does it. This is just a regular weekly cycle that ends in, let's say, end of June or something like that, and we enter in a correction in summer. Perhaps BTC dominance spikes again as all the altcoins drop, and we have the final push. Who knows? Perhaps to 70 again, like in 2021, and then in Q4 we see the huge all run. We don't know. We have to remain open-minded until we see more data. The thing is, we are pretty much in the similar state. Like, the stage is pretty much the same. We have been climbing. I'm going to remove this. High highs, high lows, high high, high low. It's a magnet. This level is a magnet. As you can see, It's like 74% away, and I say total 3 is closer to the all-time high, if I'm not wrong. It's just been 22% away. Does this mean that others are weak? No, they are just normally lagging. That's what BTC leads, which if this was the BTC top in 2021, this would be like March would be surpassed, and BTC is already in price discovery, while others haven't even really fully tested the previous all-time high total 3 did here, right? It even surpassed it in terms of candles, right? But pretty much got rejected at the same level. So total 3 is ahead. I don't think others are showing weakness. They are showing the typical delay of smaller coins. They run the hardest, but the last. So everything looks good. If I remove this for a second, and we go to the daily with the oscillators, the situation is very similar to the one in total 3. Break above DMA. Here we have the break as well, bullish cross. And for now it's battling this kind of horizontal level, which was resistance here at first as well. Here in this downtrend it tried, but it was rejected. Now we found the bottom pretty much here with the wick, right? The September lows. And now we are trying to leave that range behind again to eventually attack this one. So reclaiming this current level would open the door to all-time highs. But again, in between, there might be some kind of resistance, this kind of range actually, more or less in between. But by then, price here would be like a 30% up for the whole altcoin basket. That could mean like 60, 70% for your altcoin in particular. 40, 50, something like that, even more if it's smaller. I think everything is pointing in a good direction. We just have to be patient. Some people could say, but man, some altcoins are already running on mine are not. What's going on? Are they dumping? Are they manipulating? Let's take a look. Let me use Pepe as an example, which is one of the coins that I've been following. Let's go to the weekly. This is what, by the way, I posted here, was looking good because of this breakout. Just take a look at this, okay? Pay attention to this, because we see how advanced in the breakout Pepe is, which is then is no surprise. It is like almost 200% up, right? It's pretty much from running. Remember, in November, memes topped way earlier than others, right? This was late November, early December, and then the other altcoins stopped in mid-December, right? But the lead was from memes. But I follow charts. I see this breakout and I said, perhaps it's ready. The next move, big move, is brewing when no one is paying attention to. But this was what I saw, climbing, calling up. If it breaks, we have a new leg, weekly leg. It just happened earlier. If we open XRP, which has been very strong coin, what do we see the weekly? It's crossing now. We just saw that Pepe is around here. It doesn't mean it's stronger. It means it's going faster. If we take a quick look at Velo, it's a very different story. Broke the EMA and now it's retesting it. Even here, faked below in summer and then exploded. But what do we see here when no one was paying attention? Toying around with here in August, reclaim and held above, but this was from August to October, like 2 months, 1 month and a half, doing pretty much nothing. But this was the weekly. This was a huge move in the making because it was many weeks holding above. What happened next? A 10x. And all of a sudden, even more, 12x. All of a sudden, Velo is everywhere. Velo is revolutionary. Velo is the next. I mean, just follow the freaking charts. And then it got to just 87 RSI. Imagine buying the breakout and selling these kind of levels. In between, you have to have some confidence, right? But if you, this is what the advantage of buying low, you can hold all this chop and wait if it's just a retest or a break. If it's a break, okay, you can exit and you have some profit. But if it holds, you have the advantage of, okay, I'm still in profit, I can hold and see what's going on. I can extend my time frame because I have the possibility to do that because of my position, my early position, where no one cares, right? Then here we have like a little small push again, and the final break, making another push. The thing is, high lows. This was a lower high by a higher low, compression, which I charted it by the way, and the break into these kind of cluster resistance. So now it's just retesting the MA and holding pretty much the November lows, which I said again, like 2, 1, 2, something like that. It's not the time to panic. If you do here, I mean, at least wait until they roll over, until various signs or whatever. But support is not the place to panic. So 3 examples of different development. It doesn't mean your altcoin is shit. It doesn't mean your altcoin is so good that it's going to do even better. Because I'm sure that Pepe followers, Pepe investors now, are thinking that this is just the beginning. Because the rest of the market isn't moving much. And they are so ahead that that's free money for them. Because the best is still to come. All I see, okay, you might think that. But RSI says, this is not the beginning. Perhaps if we are lucky, we are like in this kind of mid area. If we want to, if we expect a move like here, if we just go to 74 something, like 2/3 already. Stock RSI says that perhaps we are not that early. But remember, the main indicator is RSI. We can have this kind of huge weekly candle. Look at this 3x in a week. Right, this is the kind of euphoria that I expect. Right? This was the Q1 top last year, 89 on the weekly. Insane. Yes, you can say, but you missed the second push, and you missed this. Yes, sure, but I can rotate and compound. You don't know if this is gonna happen. Imagine it rolls over, and you think, okay, man, it was 89. I should have sold. Whatever. The thing is, some altcoins are running faster than others, running before than others. Period. Doesn't mean anything. Let's go to BTC dominance. And boy, this coin, despite this, well, coin, you know what I mean. This chart, despite all the daily noise, all the hourly noise that we have seen going up, going down, if we just zoom out and remember what I was discussing about this daily was looking exhausted. I draw this kind of deviation arc. It went a little bit higher, but I said it could really roll over. The longer it takes, the longer the divergence, the bigger the impact, and here you have it, complete rollover. Now I said I would like to see the Fibonacci rejection. I mean, anything below this top would be a lower high, which is what we want. But I said this technical level would be better for a rejection because it would reinforce the idea of a strong rejection, right? Of a strong and clear development. This would be insane, and so far it's happening. We can see at the same time. Now what I think is can we really trust this? Or could it just go back up? If I see the stock RSI, I see that this whole weekly leg is getting close to potential end, a few more days perhaps. So I don't really know if there's enough fuel to fully reverse and send again, especially when BTC looks like it wants to cool off. Because if BTC dominance goes up, it also means BTC normally is going up as well. I don't see after such recent impulse BTC leading the charge again. Markets are digesting the all-time high, in my opinion, and it's good. it's good. We need to hold. I don't want to see. I know you want to make money as fast as possible, but the faster it moves, the quicker it drops, and the shorter the development will be. And the shorter it is, perhaps the lower we go. So it's going well. I want to see this. I mean, we said this complete oversold levels would bounce. It was obvious. Also, 4-hour chart, as I'm going to show now. We want this to roll over and this to roll over again and break, and confirm this is a lower high, and we retest these lows, and perhaps if they give up, we want that, and we test this kind of golden area, which is around the 200-day moving average as well, and is the key area, as I said, in the weekly, this kind of cluster area, which is huge for BTC. When if it fails, perhaps it rolls over at least to this Fibonacci level. Perhaps this is the top of this weekly cycle, and it would be big. It would be huge. Even if it stops here and then bounces into summer, and Q4 completely rolls over, and we have the old season. Who knows? But even a drop to here would be great. So for now, let's look at the weekly candle that is shaping. Rejected last week, bounced, rejected again. And I said that we saw here, that's this kind of scam price action trying, but it was just a bearish retest. So far, so good. Even stock RSI, similar levels. We have already seen that. If we take a look at the 4-hour, we will clearly identify the huge drop we had in the daily. The rollover ended in very oversold conditions and a clear bullish divergence. That together with the double bottom we saw here in the daily, it was obvious it was going to bounce. How high? Perhaps just a relief bounce, just from oversold levels. Sometimes people confuse or mistake relief bounces, right, with new trends. No, markets that's why it's tricky, and you can't only pay attention to one indicator. Markets bounce the same way. When it's very overheated, it can cool off. It doesn't mean it's over, right? So 4-hour is very oversold. It seems to be bouncing from 63.50, something like that, overnight. We'll see if it gets rejected and it just keeps rolling over, because that's why I go to the daily. I don't care about the chop on the 4-hour. By the way, I posted perhaps these various divergences could be meaningful, and it's been so far, right? Sorry, this was the divergence, and it's working. But the thing is, first the daily, and if we go to the weekly, we can see the rejection, and the monthly still must be really far, but perhaps rolling over, we need to get to 60, something like that. 61 perhaps, and we get to this level. So still work to do, but it's good that it is rejecting at this key level, this Fibonacci level, with just a wick above, right? So that looks good. Everything looks good for continuation. I believe it is the time for altcoins now to catch up a little bit, starting with the 950, which was tagged overnight, and I think this might be perhaps the weekend that altcoins start catching up. BTC dominance is hinting that perhaps that's what we see next. The thing is, let it all play out until we see weakness. Block the noise, focus on your strategy, and again, don't follow those ones that are gonna shield memes again. They're not, it's very easy to build narratives, right? Let me just look for a second, because I posted recently a meme here. Bitcoin poised to rise further after record high, blah blah blah, talking about the treasury term premiums boosting Bitcoin, which tends to follow it. Inflows into spot Bitcoin ETFs are growing. Institution, blah 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 blah, and people say, okay, price is going up. This might be the reason why. Okay, and you post this, when it breaks all-time high. Only then. That's why I posted wake up, the narratives are here. The moment memes, for example, like Pepe, who has been running just because of technicals, nothing else. It corrected earlier than everyone else, and it's running earlier than anyone else. It's just technicals. So imagine that now the Doge is in a similar situation, and you can see that, okay, it's very easy to build a new narrative that memes are back, that those who said the meme cycle was over were wrong, and now then you see memes running for 1, 2, or 3 weeks, and all the posts you will see about "I told you so," they are back, we are so back. It was just a small correction. Whatever. It's gonna be easy to make you believe that you are being left behind, that you have chosen the wrong altcoins. Why did you choose them? Did you choose it based on technicals or based on what someone said? Because if you don't have a solid strategy behind, you're gonna doubt your own backs very easily. So again, it's going to be much noise disguised as help and guide, but it's not like that. No one, pretty much no one, well, there might be some, of course, and I follow some of them, but in general, people don't want to help you. They are not here to help you. Crypto is the most selfish and degen kind of market, right? It's not revolutionary, it's a casino on steroids. Please take your profit when the time comes and compound. If you don't know what's coming next, perhaps you can move them to BTC, even if BTC retraces a bit. If you think that it might go higher, but you want to stay sidelined, perhaps that's a good moment and a good idea. But again, take profit. Do not follow those that were nowhere to be seen in the drop. Nowhere to be seen that when we were spotting the bottoms and trying to decipher what was going on and if it's over or not, they disappeared completely. And now they're gonna put hundreds of threads on why this whatever shitcoin that they are being paid to promote is revolutionary, is the next thing. Then you open the CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap and you see it's a small cap and they're shilling it, and you think you're early and you put your money, and then you get glued to the screen every fucking day for hours, asking yourself why it doesn't move, what's going on. Seriously, develop a strategy. If you work hard for your money, don't just give it away so easily just because you want it to make fast. If you have that kind of mentality, please take a look at yourself and have a conversation with yourself and ask yourself if you are gambling, if you have some kind of addiction, if you are just looking for the dopamine rush. You put the money and you start watching the screen, waiting for the green candle to happen like a complete addict, right? Please, again, I posted once that you can change the colors of these candles, but you can't change this from red to green. This red, even if it's just not even 1% at all-time high, will make you feel bad, will make you feel we're going down. What's going on? Why is it red? Red and green are not chosen randomly, please. There's psychology behind, and if there is psychology behind, it means psychology is the main factor for trading, right? Why do you see traffic lights, green telling you good to go, red, leave, stop? Do you think it's really, really random? It is not. So please focus on making your gains, follow a strategy, whatever it is. This is mine. Oscillators, structural areas, Fibonacci, a combination of all that. Create your own, follow these, whatever, but stick to it. And don't just tell people that, or tell yourself, no, technicals say that we are overheated, but we could reach to 90, or RSI to 95 even. I saw it once. Yeah, okay, good luck with that. Well, it's been a long video, but I wanted to touch a few subjects, and I hope it's helpful. And perhaps I will focus more on videos from now on, because every time I get to Twitter to post, I see so many takes and so much noise that it really affects me in the sense of it brings negativity. I really get pissed because they are trapping people because they trapped me too, right? I'm not trying to tell you that others suck, follow my TA, because I have nothing to sell. I mean, my videos are under 100 views. I don't have no newsletter. I'm not going to waste time with that. I just want to make money with my own trades. They are faster, I don't have to put that much work to try to convince you my product is good. I have a job for that, real life job. So I don't need that. I like this. I like to analyze markets and perhaps finding a group of people who think the same way, and we can all benefit from this. Right? So that's all for today. Have a good day. Bye.